All right, Daniel and Gian Talk Hate Group. So we asked you guys if you wanted to ask us some questions to put on a group exclusive video, which means only like fucking 20 of you are gonna watch this, but whatever.
Hey man, that's 20 more views than normal. Oh fuck, we totally forgot to do this. We'll do that next.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube page already,
Now's the perfect time to do so.
fucking do it, cock faces.
Just like the video. We want 300 likes
Yeah,
and 100 subscribers so we can have an actual YouTube link.
that's all we want.
all we want for
all we
now.
want.
And once
For
we
now.
get that, then we're gonna want more. And then eventually we're gonna want money, but not from you guys.
So far we got stupid questions. The first one that's like,
Well, we're not doing all of them. It's only the one with the most votes.
well, no, we're not doing that because nobody. All they wanted to vote for was you to go on a date with a man. So
But that's not the one that
that's
has the
not-
most votes.
um,
Has the most votes right here.
that has no votes. Nobody liked that.
No.
You-
My comment has.
Okay,
The most.
that doesn't make any fucking sense. We're gonna start.
I guess we're gonna do it differently now because whatever Daniel wants to do doesn't happen.
Well,
for
because
the
it was
show.
fucking dumb. Daniel's dumb comment. We'll get to that since it's you personally. Anyways, Prodigy from Be Them BTI, also known as Milas Francis on Facebook, asks to talk about what it's like growing up Puerto Rican and Latino. I could talk about both things. Daniel can kind of talk about growing up Latino, but not really. So let's see. I'm 100% Puerto Rican. My parents were both born and raised on the island. And growing up PR is a little different because I was born and raised here in California where the Latino population is probably, it's at least 90% Mexican for obvious geographical reasons. Not to mention Mexico is the largest Latin American country in the world, so they would have the most people as well. So it was different. I never really grew up with my own culture outside of the house or when I used to go to Puerto Rico to visit. So I have like a different perspective on it, I guess. And what I mean by that is like my views are probably different than someone in New York that grew up with a bunch of other Puerto Ricans around them themselves. You know,
I can also understand you. I don't understand New York Puerto Ricans.
well.
Their accents are too fucking much.
I mean, New York Puerto Ricans, like they're speaking Spanglish the whole
It's
time.
Spanglish, heavy Spanglish.
And it's like they still got the heavy New York accent on top of it, you know, and they say yo all the time. And you know, the one thing I do, well, I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like Puerto Ricans and black people in New York get along better than Mexicans and black people do here in LA.
Well, you said, and your reason is because you feel like LA Mexicans are trying to kill all the black people.
Well, they are. But no, it's just
Not all the black
It's because
people.
LA is segregated. LA is definitely segregated. Everybody lives in their own neighborhoods with, you know, it's not as mixed. In the Bay, it's a little different because the communities are a little more mixed. I also think that has to do with, believe it or not, prison, because the allies for the northern Mexican gangs are the black gangs in prison, while the southern Mexican gangs are the Aryan Nation. That's their allies, which is odd. Which leads me to that's nothing to do with your question, but the only reason why the red rag and blue rag Mexican gangs exist is because the Mexicans from LA did not like the migrant farm workers that would go up to the Bay Area and that Central Valley to work. And that's what started this big 14 versus 13 gang thing that's been going on for 50 years now.
Who does like those kind of Mexicans, though, to be honest?
Migrant farm
Yeah,
workers?
No one likes those. That's why we have a wall now. Or we will have a wall. I mean, it's true.
Those
If those Mexicans didn't look so fucking dirty picking strawberries and shit, if they were out there in a suit and tie picking strawberries,
Okay.
they're clean shaven, they spoke English.
Because the LA Mexicans look like that.
I'm just saying, bro. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. If they didn't look like that, if they look like madmen, then they wouldn't be like, let's send them back.
I feel like it was.
They'd be like, come on, keep coming.
I feel
Bring
like
culture
I
to
feel like it
America.
was a class warfare thing. Like because the migrant farm workers were the guys picking the oranges, and the guys in LA were selling the oranges. There's like the whole like you're beneath me because you're my fucking manufacturer.
Because you're the one picking it.
You're like
you're the one in the field,
if you're
and I'm the one
if you're
selling
picking it in the field, you're like the factory worker, and then the guy selling it on the freeway entrances are like the salesperson at fucking Mervin's that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. That got railroaded. But anyways,
you're welcome.
Yeah, growing up Puerto Rican, the food's different, but I grew up eating a lot of Mexican food too, so I got the best of both worlds.
Wow, compliment about Mexicans.
And I have a different what's it called? My perspective on things. I mean, mine is completely different too because I've always been light skinned, so I've always been light skinned. I always like rock and roll metal music, so I was always getting into shit with the fucking the ghetto beans. You know, we never really got along until after high school. Actually, I would say this, like, until I moved to LA, I never had like a pretty much exclusive group of Latino friends. And sure enough, my first year in LA, all my friends are fucking Mexicans from the Valley that listen to hardcore and metal. Never in my life have I ever had that many fucking Mexicans at my house at one time.
I don't think I've ever had a group of Mexican friends ever.
Well, that's...
I've lived in LA my whole life.
Your fucking situation is just completely different. But anyways, so that's that. And then Prodigy also asked, what things do y'all literally hate? And the comment that got the most likes was by Daniel saying,
was I not supposed to talk about
myself usually? So Daniel,
was
explain.
I not supposed to not talk about being Latino?
Explain why you hate yourself. Oh no, Daniel. I cut Daniel off because I don't think he's really Latino. So the only thing that's Latino about him is his fucking paint job.
And my last name.
And his last name. But go ahead. Explain your views on growing up Latino.
I didn't fucking grow up Latino. So that's all I got to say about that. I didn't. I mean, I grew up... My grandma was the only... What would be the word? Like, centerpiece to my culture. And then...
So your closest tie to Mexico was your grandmother?
For sure. Definitely. And then, like, what I thought was...
And only because she said mijo.
No, my dad said that too. But but it was... I thought the Mexican-American experience was how I grew up. And then I started dating an actual fucking Mexican. And I was around, like, what Mexican culture was. So then I really started to understand that. But I say all that to say... I wasn't wrong in thinking that the way I was raised was the Mexican-American experience. See, what had happened was going to public high school with all the fucking chunt Mexicans, they made it seem like they were the real Mexicans, quote unquote, right?
Chunt,
like,
by the way, CHUNT is an LA term for a fresh off the boat Mexican, or
they talk like this and they eat hachiros.
Yeah,
hachiros.
That's chunt is the equivalent to fob.
Pizza. They eat pizza.
Is fob a Filipino term? Because I feel like
I call any Asian fob.
Okay.
I'm saying you can apply that to any Asian ethnicity. Okay. That's what I meant to say.
Because I only heard growing up the Filipinos were the only ones that ever said fob. Like they'd always be like, "Oh, this is fucking fob."
I will 100% agree with that because growing up in Carson.
So a chunt is a fob.
So what I was saying is, they like to say Mexicans like me are the fake Mexicans. Oh, you're not real Mexican or whatever. And we've discussed this on the podcast. I'm third generation Mexican. So when my grandma and her parents came to this country legally, they were taught...
I like that you had to throw that in there.
Well, because it's fucking true. I'm just saying. They were taught... At home, you speak Spanish with the house, but when you're outside, you speak English. When you're in school, like, you need to learn fucking English. It needs to be perfect because you need to not stand out. If you stand out, then you could be deported or whatever. Like basically what's going on right now. That's why I made that gardener joke or the picking joke earlier. Like if they wore suit and ties, they wouldn't be picked on.
Right.
It's the same shit. If they just spoke fucking English, if they taught their kids how to speak fucking English because they learned how to speak fucking English, it wouldn't be this. What pisses people off, because it used to piss me off, is dealing with people who don't know how to speak English when you have to interact with someone. Like, I've learned to accept that because there's no other choice, but I'm talking about like eBay and stuff, not dealing with Mexicans in particular, but just people who don't speak English as a first language, but you're talking to them because you have to. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
if I'm going to McDonald's,
So what you're saying is if you come across a person that doesn't speak good English, you're going to avoid them like the plague.
pretty much.
You're fucking racist.
And it angers... Well, I don't avoid them because you
It
can't...
angers you? Why does it anger you?
It angered me because it became frustrating. Because I'd have to try harder to communicate my idea.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, I say all that to say, if that mentality of what my parents and my grandparents lived through was still persistent today, there might not be that much of an issue. Because I don't think Trump has a problem with my type of Mexican, quote unquote. He has a problem with the ones that are just coming over here and they don't want to learn anything.
Right.
Because I know people who don't want to learn English. That's fine. That's their right as American. You don't have to. It helps a lot. You know, it's not. But anyway, so I learned that my upbringing was not fake. It's just a perspective thing. The people I found out very quickly that the people who were saying that were either first or second generation. Either their parents were illegal or they were, you know what I mean? Like, so I had to really pay attention to like who was saying it and how valid things were, because how could you shit on my upbringing when I've done nothing wrong? You know what I mean? Like, it never made sense to me.
That's more of a... You're blaming the Mexicans for that, but it's more of a testament to the Americans here. Like, the only reason why you're even saying that you're Mexican is because the white people are not allowing you to
join their race.
And well, not to join their race, but they're not allowing you to let that part of your ethnicity go.
But I'm glad to identify as Mexican American, though.
Well, that's now. But what I'm saying is, your family has been fully assimilated now for a while.
But I'm saying I'm proud of it and not ashamed of it. Like, my aunt on my mom's side, she's fucking like, the way she talks, and this is why I don't go over to like dinner and stuff at her house, because like the way she talks, you would make it seem like if at birth you gave her a choice, do you want to be Mexican or white? Same lifestyle, but you're just gonna be white. She'd pick being white. Because like the way she shits, but yet she'll still claim like, oh, I'm Mexican, I'm this, I'm that. But the way she talks is so, speaking so down to
Well, I feel like, you know, in her defense, I don't know this lady, but I feel like she's just in between a rock and a hard place, you know? Because culturally speaking, like, she didn't grow up that way. You know, she grew up American. She just happened to have a vowel on her last name or an EZ or whatever, you know? I don't know what her
Well, it's
last...
not my fault.
No, it's not your fault at all, but it's...
I'm just saying I identify with my culture still.
There's like a whole town in Texas. I don't know if you heard of this town. It's called San Antonio.
Yeah, I went there.
The population's like 80% Mexican, and none of them speak Spanish. Like, they're all like third, fourth, fifth generation.
So I belong there.
Yeah, you belong there. And like they still make tamales at Christmas time and shit, I think. But culturally speaking, like they're pretty much American. They're Texans. They're from San Antonio.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, but they're not rooting for Mexico in the World Baseball Classic. They're rooting for the U.S. Is what I'm getting at. And you didn't you root for the U.S.?
I didn't root for anybody for the World Baseball Classic, but World Cup though.
In the Olympics,
World Cup, I'll go for USA.
Okay, well there you go. If Puerto Rico played soccer, I'd be rooting for the Puerto Rican team.
Yeah, but they're America.
That's me. Wow.
A win for Puerto Rico is a win for America.
Get the fuck out of here.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. You are wrong. If it was that, they wouldn't have their own team.
Puerto Ricans, they want to be a part of America so bad, but we just won't let it. Like you said, we're like... Nah.
I never said that. That's not true at all.
No, you said that...
No, but you said...
But you said... Spider said...
Just
but
said...
You said...
This is Spider said... All right. The second part... this is more interesting than the actual podcast. So why do you hate yourself, Daniel?
I don't hate myself. You know, I blame it on the weed, I guess, but I've been coming into like a second. I think I was hitting it's gonna sound fucking stupid, but I think I was hitting a midlife crisis.
A quarter life crisis?
Yeah.
It's like a third life crisis, I'd say. Like.
And then I started smoking pot, and then I just started kind of just awakening in some weird way. Like, I know it sounds stupid and super stonery, but it's like I've just been really thinking about my life and how I approach things and like how people interpret me and things like that, and it's like I'm starting to understand why I'm the way I am. That's not really answering the question. I don't hate myself. I don't really hate myself because I think if you hate yourself, then you're. I don't think you could truly hate yourself and not be like suicidal and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I feel like if you truly hate yourself, it's a different level.
I feel like you're too like scared to commit suicide.
Oh no, I couldn't.
And you're too lazy.
I enjoy life too. I enjoy living. Like I enjoy being lazy too much to want to kill myself.
Right.
Like there's too much TV. There's too many video games. Like I need to know how Game of Thrones ends. Like I can't just fucking, you know. But it is funny. Like self-deprecating humor is funny to me, and that's the thing. I think that gives the impression like that mixed with my fucking Eeyore monotone voice. I think that gives the impression that I hate myself because I will say it, but I don't know. I just think making fun of myself is the best time because it's not hurting anybody. Who's it hurting than myself? You're either gonna think it's funny or it's not.
Right.
And you either are gonna know when I'm.
You have no
serious.
friends, so your friends aren't gonna get upset for you.
But even then, I mean, I've interacted with people who are like, who don't like the fact that I self-deprecate. And it's like, I haven't changed for them, and I'm not going to.
Well, that's probably because they have low self-esteem, and like you talking shit about yourself affects their low self-esteem.
How would that be possible?
Because people are like that, man. They're like, fucking, if he talks about himself that way, I wonder what he says about me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Fuck that. I just think it's funny. I genuinely think it's funny.
Oh, it's definitely horseshit. So, speaking about you, can you please tell me why you're so fucking lazy? Like, seriously,
Is that a
dude.
question?
This is a real question. Like,
Is that a
why
question on
are you...
here?
No, I'm just playing off of you hating yourself. Why are you so fucking lazy? Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel is one of the fucking laziest people I fucking know. And I mean, maybe it's just because he can be. Maybe that's why, but I don't understand. Like, he fucking procrastinates, and he just doesn't have the... Like, your motivation levels are... I feel like you start...
Is this a lift? Are you gonna talk?
Absolutely. Shit? I've been trying to get Daniel to fucking drive fucking Uber. At first it started with Lyft. He wants to make fucking money. Got a promo where if he hit a certain amount of rides, he was gonna get $2,000 or something. Was it 2,000 or was it 1,000?
It was 2,000.
So he had 90 days to do the 500 rides.
It was less than 90 days. It was 2 months.
All right,
60 days.
Sorry, how many?
500 rides, $2,000.
Okay, so 60 days. How many? Let's. You get a $2,000 bonus plus the fucking fares that you get, and then I would have got like $300 out of it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That's also part of the fucking reason why I was trying to get him to do that. But, now I want to do 500 divided by 60 equals 8 rides a day, which you could knock out. You said you did 20 in a fucking day.
I did.
So Daniel just doesn't have. I don't know what he wants to do. And I'm worried about you, man. I want you to tell the guys like why do you stop yourself? There's a promo now, 75 rides. He can knock 75 rides out in 3 days. I told him that. Just go, and he'll make $600, $500. I don't know how much. He has 30 days to do that. He still hasn't signed up to drive for fucking Uber.
Wrong. I've signed up for Uber.
No, he didn't get his inspection.
I haven't
yet.
my car. I've been approved. I'm waiting for inspection. Okay. I've been busy. I've been working more.
She hasn't been busy.
I have been busy. Now that doesn't necessarily excuse the fact that I couldn't have spent an hour to go get my car inspected.
Yeah.
But I have been busy. I don't know. I'll get to it. I'm gonna do the Uber thing.
I'll get to it.
I'll get to it. It's not about being lazy.
What he's gonna do?
I feel like
you're gonna inspect the car, and then you're gonna do like fucking 1 day of driving.
No.
And then you'd be like,
I might. No. I might. I'm gonna finish the 90 days or whatever, the bonus, and then I might drive more after that. But I'm at least gonna do that because I made a decision the other day that my goal right now is to completely pay off my car.
okay.
So I want to use that. I want to work until using Lyft to pay off my car.
That's the best way to do it.
And then once it's paid off, then because then my overall amount that I need to pay a month is just going to drop.
Okay, let me ask you another question then.
So, hold on. I'm saying all that to say, you wanted me to sign up on Uber at a time in which I'm reaching enlightenment. So there's a lot of things that I want to do that I have been doing, and Uber's not on that list.
Right.
So whether it's inconsequential things like playing guitar or whatever, but I've been actively doing things. I have been working a lot. I've been editing a lot. I've been coloring a lot. Actually, someone just texted me about an update on a edit. I've been doing sound, so I've been working more. I don't know. Like I said, I've reached this enlightenment where I'm like actually actively reading shit, trying to improve what we're doing here, and like obviously I don't know if it's helping any, but
so far it has not been.
But I'm just saying though, like it's at a time where I don't really give a shit. Like to me, when I wanted to do when I wanted to do Lyft, it was at a time of desperation where I was like, I haven't got a job in 3 weeks. I have money saved up, but I don't want to start eating into that. Let me do Lyft. Right when I signed up for Lyft, jobs start coming in. And then it got comfortable where I was like, I'm not really working, but I have money saved up from the jobs I was working. And then like the Uber thing came because you brought it to my attention that my car is actually
must be fucking nice.
Yeah.
So Daniel's just like actively admitting that he's lazy. So let's go back to let me ask you another question. Like, how do you make your fucking decisions? Like, why are you so cheap? And how do you make these decisions? Like, for example, when I first met Daniel, he would sign up for these free screenings of movies before they came out, which is fine. That's cool, whatever. The caveat is, to get into these screenings, you had to fucking drive to wherever they were screening, one. And two, you had to get there hours ahead of time.
Usually two.
To make sure that you got in. Because if you weren't there, if you weren't at that cutoff point, you weren't going to get into the screening. So Daniel would sometimes drive fucking... What's the furthest you drove from San Pedro?
Well, no, I never drove from Pedro. I always drove from USC.
Okay. So I know you...
The farthest I've driven, though, was probably... From USC, was probably like going down to Irvine or something.
For screening?
For The Hobbit. But I got in for sure, and it was IMAX. And those are for sure tickets. I didn't have to pay for them, but they were a contest. That's probably the farthest I've driven from USC. But in average, I probably drive an hour to get to the theaters.
You didn't get to Irvine in an hour at that time.
Well, we left early, remember?
So, anyways, I guess what I'm asking is like, how do you justify this for me? Like Daniel would rather drive an hour or two and then wait another 2 hours to not pay $10 to see a fucking movie.
Well, see, it turned into that, and then that's when I kind of stopped going. But when I first started going to the screenings, they were not movies that were going to come out in a week or two. They were movies that were like test screenings, pre-screenings, like still being edited movies, like things that were like actively in the production process, and like we were watching test cuts. Like I watched 12 Years a Slave a year before it came out, you know? So like for me, that was worth it because it was a little treat. It was, and you'd have to fill out surveys, you'd have to do all this shit. Sometimes you get paid, like you'd actually get paid, not like a lot of money, but $10 and some free movie tickets that I was going to use anyway. But I'm just saying that's what it was at first, and you'd actually go to like Sony, they're like the actual lot to watch the movie at Sony, at Warner Brothers, at like on the lot. So it was a little different than like what it eventually became, which is when I stopped going.
Now
is when like The Hobbit, like when The Hobbit was out, where I went to Irvine, that movie came out like a few days later. But I decided, free popcorn, free this, free that. I go watch it at 48 frames. Like, whatever. I'm not doing anything else. Like, to me, that's fine. But for the most part, prior to that, it was me going to like...
Are you guys buying this? I'm not buying it.
You can ask my friends, Austin.
You can ask.
I'm just saying. But then there's the other part of me that's like always been cheap when it's like, if I know... Like,
Daniel waited by his car. I think I already brought this up, but Daniel waited by his car a couple weeks ago for 15 minutes because he didn't want to pay 25 cents at the meter. So he like stopped
It wasn't 15 minutes.
He stopped the podcast from like...
It was like 5 minutes.
Happening because he was waiting.
It was
by
like
his car.
5 minutes.
It was more than 5 minutes.
Okay, 6, but it
was
wasn't
not
15.
6 minutes.
It wasn't 15.
It was at least 10.
I'll split the difference with you and say 10, but 15 is too much.
Oh, you would have paid the quarter for 15 minutes. I think that was the issue. Like it was 13 minutes, and you didn't want to pay for
Extra
15
time,
minutes
exactly
for this. Okay, 25 cents, folks.
Look, I've always been cheap. What do you? I've just been cautious of my money.
That's not cautious.
What's wrong with that?
That's a lot wrong with that.
According to who?
Oh, dude,
Says who?
You're wasting my time.
Says
you're
who?
wasting everybody else's time.
Says
And
who?
you're wasting your time.
Says who?
I'm telling you, you're wasting my fucking time.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
All right.
There's a video I'm referring to.
No excuse for that. But fuck your video. Anyways, I think that'll wrap it up. Unless you got
No, I have nothing else to say.
So that's
this is a pretty long exclusive Facebook video.
yeah. You guys are not gonna watch all of this. So that being said, fuck you guys.